So we answer a lot of messages early in the morning because we up early and shit like that. But there's something called what we call wordplay. I like to call it wordplay, right? When we train, we cover some wordplay because you have to understand that all we're dealing with is energy, and due to the fact that words, right, carry a certain energy, then we definitely had to know how to use it, of course, right? You see, it goes back to the foundation of everything. Now we know there's only two things. There's the seen and then there's the unseen. There's the mind and the body. Now the mind is what develops the body. Anything that the mind, any thoughts that flows through the mind, the body just has to act it out, and that's what it will do. So if you start claiming that you have this and I have this and I have that, or I am this and I am that, eventually this is what you will be, right? And this is why me personally, I'm not big on titles, because when you use the letter I and you say I am this, I am a lawyer, I am whatever, all these different professions that have out here, basically what you're doing is limiting yourself. And this is why observation is key, because when you look at the letter I, right, there's a dot on top of it, and then if you have the capital I, there's the cross. So you could only go so far when you're using the word, or the letter I should say, right? It's a very powerful, as they say, letter, because we see it used everywhere. I am, and the whole I am business, it's interesting, but when you know what you are and you understand what you are, then you will see I am for what it is. Okay? But as we get back to the wordplay, as I say, you don't claim stuff. Right? You, what you are, the mind never has no type of condition. The conditions develop within the body. Now, anything that the mind could perceive, or the thoughts that the mind could generate, the body now will just follow, right? If you don't mind, it don't matter. So no matter what you put in yourself through, once you see it through the mind, and you might see me do this, but this is not the mind, straight up. I just have to use it because, there's a lot of different people might be looking at this, but this is not the mind, this is the brain, and the brain is something that, through repetition, you could be taught. I'm just saying this to say, be mindful of the words that you use. The language was taught for a reason. All the conquering and colonization and all that shit that we read about, that was taught to us, the only thing that was left was the language. Now, the reason why the language was left, hey, we know why, and we understand why. And this is why, when you look at all these different countries, including this one too, the language that was left here and anywhere else, the language wasn't designed for you to benefit from. So this is why when our country claims independence, it's not really independent, because how could you be independent if you're using someone else's language? So the words that they choose to use was, I have ADHD and I am bipolar. Now, if you see me when I text and stuff like that, I don't really use the letter I should say, because when we go back, you remember we say words, everything is just energy we're dealing with. So when you say I, when you use the letter I, right, I is the ninth letter of your alphabet. So when we're dealing with 9 in nature, right, 9 represents the completion of everything, anything. So just like, 9 months and the baby is born, and 9 months for certain fruits to be ready and stuff like that. Now when you say, use the letter I and say like, I have ADHD, now you stating a claim on your body that is complete, right? So when you say I have ADHD, now you basically claiming it, if you want to say that. And not only claiming it, but reinforcing it within the body. Now we have to understand that, as I say, all we're dealing with is energy. Now when it comes to you and what you are, right, you could never have ADHD, right? Or you could never really have no kind of disease or condition, as we like to call it, condition. Now, and that is to what you are. Now, the conditions come and they develop in the body. Now, the body is really not what you are. It is a representation of what you are, of what we are, I should say. Now, so the mind itself is not diseased or doesn't have any conditions. The conditions develop in the body. So if the mind is saying, well, hey, I have this and I have that, then what will the body do? The body will just, follow, because now you put in the vibration within the body that you have this and you have that. Now, we had to clear that up earlier and be like, if you're using the word I, you have to use it in past tense, right? Because the only time we're dealing with is now. That's the only time that it even exists, that could be, is now. So once you start dealing with somebody that does this kind of, or in this type of field, then you should only be talking now. And if you talk to me or anyone that trains with me, they will definitely more than likely tell you the same thing. And from now, that whole mindset has to change, so that when you start dealing with this whole so-called condition that the body has, right, or they say that your body has or you have, then it's past. So now we only looking through now, and as we focus on now, then what's ahead is no conditions. Just be aware of the language that you're using, especially when it comes to you and your body, and when it comes to conditions of the body that people may tell you that you have. Once you get a better understanding of the body and how the mind and the body comes together as one, then you could use language to actually just start transforming the body into whatever you desire. It's not hard.